Hey, Richard.
Phil, go ahead and say that stupid thing you said to me earlier.
Oh, measuring ROI on social media is a myth.
Yep, that's it.
Maybe you can measure ROI on social media. I think you can measure ROI on social media. You can definitely measure ROI on social media.
Huh.
I might call the cops.
Oh, Phil.
Really, I might.
Really? Phil, come on. Be a good sport.
Okay, so thought for today, measuring success is critical, whether in business or in life.
Yeah, we can also measure success spiritually, right? So look at 2 Corinthians, examine yourself. Really what this verse is saying, look inside and see if you are a true believer, right? And so there's ways that we can test that about the fruit and all that we bear. We should look inside and go, do I really follow Christ? Is this my parents' faith or is it my faith, right? 1 Corinthians 11 says the same thing. Let a man examine himself. Psalm 26 says that examine is David's thing. Examine me, Lord, and prove me and test my mind and my heart. Right?
Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. When we said that didn't have classes on measuring marketing, then we found out how important it was when we got to the work world. And just in case you didn't know, it is Hawaiian Shirt Day.
Which, by the way, where are your Hawaiian shirts? I'm pretty sure that's 10 points off the test or something.
I think so. So Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. Let's pray. Father, we pray that you'll help us, although we don't like to measure ourselves because we might find ourselves wanting, we might not look like what we see. It's really important to ask ourselves, am I growing spiritually? Am I doing the things that I need to do to live my life the way you want me to live? And we pray you'll help us all become the kind of people who examine our lives and then clean up ourselves so that we do what we're supposed to. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. So why do we measure? Not everybody, not every business measures marketing, what's going on in marketing until they have a problem. And then when sales are low, well, then it's, well, what are we going to do? We're not making enough revenue. So measuring allows you to see where you are. And if you need to make changes, it prods you to set objectives, goals, and it prods you to dive deeper to find out what's going on. For example, a few weeks ago, we had this little measurement exercise in here, right? And some of you got a score after you were measured that you didn't like, right? So what should that have prodded you to do? Oh, what did I do wrong? We've had a number of you come to us and say, hey, how can I study better to do better on the tests, right? I want to know. It prods me, where am I? Now I need to make changes, and it prods you to have objectives. So now you're thinking, I want a 99 on this test that's coming up Friday, right? So I've changed the way I'm studying, and I've studied more. I've actually started studying. All right, not everything, but right. So I've set objectives, and I thought, okay, how do I prepare for these analytical thought questions that put me in the position of being a product manager? How can I do that? So it prods you to do better, to figure out what's happening, and to set goals. And so measuring does that. We're going to suggest it's better to measure before you have a problem so that you don't have a problem. So what are some of the things you measure? First, key success measures. So let's say, for example, I better wait for you guys to write things down. Here, which hit the V button. All right. So let's say that you are a sales manager. You've got 6 people who work for you. Okay. You've got Sid, Mary, Jim, Karen, Ralph, and Melvin. All right, now, your boss comes to you and says, if at the end of the year, 50% of your revenues are from new customers, you get a 25% bonus on your check. How many of you want that 25% bonus? I had a 25% bonus once. And I'll tell you what, I did when I was vice president of CenturyLink, and I did whatever I could do to make sure I met my goals, right? So 50%. So my question to you is, what are you going to measure? Yeah. Okay, well, how do you do that? That's a good deal. But I don't know if you're effective or not. So what do I measure to do this? I got 50% revenues. 50% has come from new accounts.
How many new accounts they create?
What's that?
How many new accounts they create?
Okay, number of new accounts. How about how much revenue we get from each of those? Right? So I know revenues. All right, so what if I measure this and I get 4% of revenues are coming from new accounts? What do? You yell at everybody, right? Hey, our goal is 50%. What are you doing? You guys get with it. And what does that do for your employees? They don't know how to change. They might be motivated to do more of the same, which is going to give me 4%. I don't know how to fix stuff. So what we want to measure is key success factors. What are the things that people do that bring about success? So what do you want to measure? What does a salesperson do that creates success?
Get new clients.
What's that?
Get new clients.
How?
By going and doing sales calls.
All right, so how about a number of phone calls? Right? If you make 0 phone calls, how many sales are you gonna have? Okay, and then the number of office visits. And then the number of sales. Okay, so can we measure those for each person? Yeah. So Sid, he has 25 phone calls. He makes 15 office visits and closes 5. Mary, she makes 50 phone calls, has 1 office visit and 1 close. Okay, Jim, he's got 13 phone calls, 13 office visits, and no sales. Karen, she's got 18 phone calls. She's got 6 office visits, and she's got 3 sales. Ralph, he's got 12, and 12. Okay. And old Melvin down here, Melvin's got 15 and 14 and 8. Now can I help people? So what would you say about Sid? Well, let's take Ralph first. What would you tell Ralph? He's doing 12. Yeah, Ralph, you're great. Kick it up, buddy. Your goal this week is 24 calls. Right? And if he gets 24 calls, we're going to really like results. Right? All right, what do you think about Mary? She's what?
Lazy.
Mary's lazy, she's making 50 phone calls?
She's not going out anywhere though.
But why isn't she going out? She is terrible on the phone. I think we need it. So what am I gonna do with Mary? I'm gonna say, "Hey, Mary, I'm gonna get on the phone with you and I'm gonna listen to what you do. And then I'm gonna make some tips and then I'm gonna let you do some more. And then you're gonna listen to me make a phone call. And then I'm gonna listen to you and I'm gonna give you some advice, right? And so what we want to do is get Mary more office visits because her phone skills stink. Right? Yeah. All right, what about Jim? He can't close. He doesn't know how to close a sale. So what do we tell Jim? Jim, we need you to make more phone calls. Right? He's lazy. Right? And but you're doing good in your office visit, but you're not closing. So I'm gonna go with you on the next 10 office visits you have. And I'm gonna give you tips on how to do things. And you're gonna watch me close, and then I'm gonna watch you, and then I'm gonna give you tips on how to do it because we want you to improve. Right? You see how I can help every single person if I'm measuring the right thing. Right? So I want to study those key success factors. What are the things that people do that makes them successful? So when I went to Bell South, we had like 28 product managers, different products. Mine was Frame Relay. My product grew 400% a year. And other guys that were barely growing. But when I got there, we were the worst in the industry in terms of sales and in terms of quality. And so I said to myself, what are the things that I need to do to get people to be effective? So I asked some salespeople, I had 1,200 of them, send me some of your PowerPoints. I got these PowerPoints, they were the worst things in the world. So I developed a new PowerPoint. And then we paid somebody $4,000 to take that PowerPoint, make it really slick. And it was great. And then I went out and I taught people how to sell Frame Relay. And our sales went through the roof because they didn't know how to sell it. Right? So you find out what's going to lead for success. My CEO, Glenn Post at CenturyLink, every month he got 7 sheets, legal sheets, of single lines of things that were important that he looked at. Out at the side, it had a yellow, a red, or a green. If it was green, he didn't worry about it. It was yellow, he went to it, looked at it if he had enough time. If it was red, it got his attention. Management by exception. Right? So these are the key things that we need to do for our business to succeed. One of those is cash flow. So if cash flow was red, you think he was going to spend his time on cash flow? Well, yeah, somebody screwed up. Why do we not have enough money to pay payroll next month? Right? I've got to work on that. And so he worked on that. But if that was green, he didn't bother with that at all. He went down and looked at the other things, right? And so he found out what was important for the success of the company. So if we understand those key success factors, it helps us make sure we're going to have success.
All right, so some of these, we're just gonna list them for you in the next 2 slides. The first one is obviously revenue. How many of y'all have had, finance? So, all right, tell me what revenue is. How do you measure it? How do you calculate it? How much money do you take in? Okay, how much money you take in is determined by what? What's that?
Price times quality.
Price times quantity.
That's on the sheet in the back. What a guy, he knew anyway, he's accounting. So there is in Canvas, that sheet that I gave you, and there's a little video that walks through that sheet. Make sure you go through that before you take the test. You want to say that again?
Make sure you get through that before you take the test. How about that? All right, so we know what revenue is. By the way, you'd be surprised. We'll get in upper level classes like internet or something, and we're like reminding people what revenue is. So let that stick in your brain. That's a really key business term. So obviously, we want to measure revenue growth, right? If we're selling products, we're in the business to make money, right? To increase shareholder wealth, then revenue will be really important. And we can measure that through these factors like year over year, month over month, or quarter over quarter, right? We want to see how many products, how much was our total revenue, how much did we sell, what was the price point and all from this quarter versus last quarter, right? Or from this year versus last year, right? Then we also can measure it in total firm sales, right? This is really important to stock market, people, investors, things like that. They want to know your total firm sales, but we can also drill down and measure the same store sale, right? How did we do at Christmas last year, right? Versus this year, okay? And so we can zero in on a sale of a particular product to figure out maybe which markets are working, which ones aren't working.
Walmart reports every quarter its same store sales. How much did each store do versus last quarter to see if each individual store is doing better or worse? And that's, the stock is going to go up and down, not on total revenue, but same store sales.
Yeah, and that's important for you on the marketing management end, because maybe some stores aren't producing and you need to close them down because it's costing you. Maybe you're leasing the buildings, you've got employees, all that, and you need to make sure you're making your best return on investment. We have other things, other credits, charges, bad debts, returns. In fact, I just saw a survey, it was from this year, earlier this year. It said 88% of people have returned at least one clothing item in their life, right? Have you ever bought an item and returned it? So why else would people return a product? All right, it doesn't work. What else? All right, you decided you didn't need it. Maybe you bought it from Amazon and it wasn't what you thought it was, right? So that can be important to a marketing person. How does that affect us on our bottom line? Yeah, you're not making money, right? In fact, you're losing money. How are you losing money when you get a return? Yes, now it's a used product. That's exactly right. So my nonprofit class, we visited AIM right down the street, Anderson Interfaith Ministries. And they were really happy when people returned products to Publix, because Publix can't use most of them. And so they'll end up just donating them to a food bank or something. So that's great for charity, but that's bad for Publix, right? Because it's a loss of revenue. Okay. Then we get to ROI, which is return on investment. Right. So we have ROI and MROI. So be familiar with both of those terms. What is return on investment? Right, exactly right. So that, again, really important for you business majors to understand the importance of ROI. If you haven't had finance, I'm sure Dr. Smith will dive into it pretty heavy. But return on investment is key because we can put our money anywhere and try to return it, but we only have so much money, right? So we want to make the best return possible. Now, ROI factors in things like industrial equipment, right? So you see machinery up here, all of those kind of things. As marketers, we want to drill down to MROI, which is understanding the marketing return on investment, the return on our campaigns, for instance, okay? So if we could drill down into why certain campaigns work and why others don't. So think about online versus traditional, okay? If I'm doing online, then maybe I'm doing social media, okay? And I've got Google Ads, things like that, and I'm investing into my online campaign, right? On a traditional campaign, maybe it's, what does that look like? Where are my marketing dollars go? Okay, events, maybe it's on-site promotions, maybe it's magazines that are in print, maybe it's display ads in store, something like that. So we have a lot of different ways that we can advertise and promote a product or a service. But what we want to do is determine which ones are working and which ones are not working. Okay, so I want to discuss this idea of cannibalism. Have you ever heard that term? Okay, it's not like, we're not, chopping anybody's heads off. What we're really doing is chopping our own heads off from the marketing perspective, in that we are introducing a product or releasing a product or changing a product, maybe it's the price or something, to cannibalize ourselves. Okay, so there are times a company may want to do this, okay, in order to beat out a competitor somewhere. You think of like an Apple's purposely going to release a better product and get rid of an old product, things like that. But a lot of times you can do this and hurt yourself in the market if you're not careful and you're marketing one thing and really you're just taking your buyers from another product that you already sell, right? So you're taking revenue, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. Okay.
That's the difference there between the capital MROI and the lowercase MORI. So the capital M is the entire marketing department. How effective are we in comparison to our revenues that we return? But then the little MRI, the non-capitalized, is how is the campaign doing?
All right, so I wanted to show you one thing right quick. I want to move kind of fast on this. So this was a project that I did when I worked in the automotive world last year. Okay, so we were trying, it's a really simple project. We introduced for 6 weeks a free breakfast campaign. Our customers were car dealers, right, business to business. And so we wanted to see if we gave them free breakfast, if they would come earlier, if they would buy cars earlier and more often, and if it would affect revenue. Okay, so all I did was take 6 dates before, 6 dates during, and then I later released the second report. In the automotive world, they always want really quick information. So I gave them a second report of what was going on then, and then I wrote up a report. So this would be something you would do in the marketing world. You can do this as an intern, you can do it as a marketing manager, and then you would say, all right, boss, and then you write them, here's my promotional strategy, here's the conclusions that we reached. And then you would in one page, and then you drill down and you're like, have you had statistics yet? Okay, good. So this is a really basic regression analysis. Like, if I can do this, you can do it. I'm not that smart. Okay. So, and then you would take the numbers that you put into Excel and release it and say, all right, well, here's my conclusions, right? How does one variable relate to the other variable? And what we found was that no, we completely wasted our time giving away free breakfast. It didn't help. We didn't sell any more cars. And the people showed up earlier, but it didn't translate to more sales. Okay. All right, then we get to CPGA, or cost per gross ad. Okay. Oh, sorry. All right, so again, very simple calculation. You're just taking. There we go. You're just taking your total marketing expenses and dividing them by your total units sold. Okay, you're gonna need to know that. So again, my overall budget, what did I spend on marketing, and what did I make? Right? How did we produce? How about do we produce based on our marketing effort? Right?
No production cost in here.
Right.
We're not looking at how are we making profit on the entire thing. We're just looking at what did marketing contribute, right? How much on average do we spend to acquire a customer?
Yeah, it's really important that we be able to tell our boss, our CEO, and say, look, marketing is doing its job. It's hard enough to measure as marketing people exactly, oh, we spent $7 million in a Super Bowl ad. Can't exactly tell you what that translated to, right? We don't know exactly, because we can't get into everybody's brain. But these are measurements that we can go forward with and say, all right, this is working, this isn't.
And did the president of the company want this stuff from you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, me
right?
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to do this. This is big where we're in the marketing area. It all comes down to dollars.
Okay, that brings us to this idea of ARPU, okay, average revenue per unit. So you see some basic illustrations up here. These would be like 3 different sets of products that we sold, right? We sold this product, we sold at $4, same product at $3, same product at $2, but we sell more when the price goes down, right? Basic economics, okay? So you're gonna sell more, but why would I sell the same price at multiple price points? Let's start there. Okay, you're trying to add as you lower price. Is everybody willing to pay the same price? No, no, peanut butter, right? Not everybody's willing to pay $6 for a jar, so people aren't gonna buy it on coupon or whatever. So what we wanna do is get $6 people to pay $6 and $4 people to pay $4. And then we're capturing more market share, but we're still maximizing our marginal revenue.
You can also look at it as three different sizes of Skittles,
Okay,
right?
yeah,
So you got a bigger pack, a smaller pack, and a teeny pack. And each one costs differently, and how much of each one are you are people buying? And that gives you the ARPU of the three different sizes, the average revenue from all three different sizes.
good. So same idea, if we're changing the high price point, right, then that's obviously gonna change our ARPU. But if we change the low price point, right, and we sell more of the low price point, that's gonna change our ARPU. And so we just need to be able to understand that calculation and factor in again, what is our average revenue per unit that we sell?
So we go through this again on that video, and you've got this example on the sheet that you just picked up. So recurring versus non-recurring revenues. So a recurring revenue, a revenue that happens all the time. So here is your subscription to Spotify, right? That's a subscription. It's a recurring rate every month. I'm going to get that $5, or if you're in the premium plan, I'm going to get that $10, right? That's a recurring monthly revenue, but there are also non-recurring revenues. So here are, so for example, if I buy a candy bar, if I buy a candy bar, that's a non-recurring purchase, right? Whereas if I'm a store, I buy the same number of boxes every month. So for the store, it's recurring, but me as an individual, I'm gonna walk in there and buy one bar, that's a non-recurring expense. Sometimes you get both. So for example, when I was at CenturyLink, we started talking about this to our product managers, and James, my product manager for dial-up, it cost $21 a month for dial-up internet service. And they had a $35 setup fee. So when you start the account, $35. So James looked at his revenues and he had never looked at them separately. So it's $35 set it up. So far that year, he had 8.2 million new customers. So if you take 8.2 million times $35, that's a whole lot of change, right? So he looked and said, how much non-recurring revenue do I have? And he had $180,000. When he should have tens of millions. And so he picked up the phone, smart man that he was, and he called customer service. I'd like to buy dial-up internet service. And he talked with the lady for a while, and after a while she said, you know, you have a very nice voice. I'm gonna waive the setup fee. He hangs up, he calls again, talks to somebody else, they waive the setup fee. Talk to somebody else, they waive the setup fee. He's like, we give them the right to waive the setup fee, because if they're considering AOL versus our internet service, we want them to be able to waive the right to win it. They're waiving it for everybody. So James, smart man that it was, came up with a program. If the customer service rep got this person to pay the setup fee, they got $5. CenturyLink got $30. The rep got $5 extra on their paycheck. In the next month and a half, we had $2.5 million in extra revenue, which went straight to the bottom line of profits, right? But we wouldn't have changed anything unless we measured, right? Measuring makes a difference, because then you can figure out what's going on. Is something going wrong that I haven't figured out about, right? Yeah. So thought on ARPU. James, when he looked at his recurring revenues, he calculated his ARPU. Our charge $21 a month. His ARPU came up to $18 a month. He's like, well, if we're charging 21, how's it 18? So he picks up the phone again and he calls. And the lady says, you've got such a nice voice. Do you ever teach people anything? He says, well, yeah, sometimes. So I'm gonna give you the teacher rate. So he kept calling. teacher rate, fireman rate, army rate, we had 17 discount plans. He got rid of all of them, and suddenly we're bringing our ARPU, our average revenue per unit, up.
All right, unit related measures, obviously total number of units sold would be really important to know. We only sell 10, right? No matter what price point they are, then we're not penetrating the market.
When I was at CenturyLink, my president knew how many cell phones we sold. Every 2 hours, she got a report. And so I had to start finding out how, and
Better know.
if they were down, she called me every 2 hours if things were bad.
Obviously, we want to measure customer adds, right? How many customers are we getting? Right? Maybe that's per 2 hours or per day or per month or per year. Okay, then we have gross adds, the total number that we've added, and net adds, right? So the net that we added, and then we have this customers that we lose. That's called churn. We've talked about that before, right? So do you think churn would be an important number to measure? Why?
Those customers who went to your companies.
Yeah, heck yeah, we're losing customers to our competitors, right? Or to maybe they're just canceling the product, of course, but then we still want to know why. Why are we not paying $35 for internet or whatever? So they're going somewhere and we want to figure out why, and then we want to retarget them, right? Get it back, right?
When I was at CenturyLink, I asked, what's our churn rate on internet? And the guy said, it's 4.2%. And I said, oh, that's a little high. At AT&T, our long distance churn rate was 2% a year. And he said, no, 4.2% a month. We lose half our customers every year churning out. Yeah. You think we put some money in trying to fix that problem? You bet we did.
Which one do you think is cheaper, by the way, to get a new customer or to keep an existing customer? Yeah, it's the same way with employees, right? In the workplace, it's a lot cheaper for a company to just pay someone a little extra or retain a current employee than it is to have to recruit, train, get on board a new employee, right? It's the same thing.
$33,000 to hire a new employee.
That's right. And it's the same thing in our world, in the marketing side, right? We don't want to lose customers because, in fact, I was at the bank. One of the things we would do is measure customer service. We would do surveys. So I worked at Regions Bank and they hired Gallup because they knew Gallup was a good survey company, and they recognized that good service was obviously connected to retention for customers. And what's really important for banking is adding more products per customer. Okay, so we had a whole year that we got to compete branch to branch. There was about 2,000 branches. My branch finished second in the whole company, by the way. I was really proud of that. I got a little award. No money. Like, come on. Give me a bonus. I got a little award. I got to go to Phoenix. All right. So anyway, if that's one way that we can measure retention, right? Is to add more products per customer or get them to repeat purchase.
But if they hadn't been measuring how many customers we have, how many we add, how many we lose, then what could have happened? Suddenly, they find out their revenues are really bad and they don't know why. And the truth is, they've lost 10% of their customers because of bad customer service.
Yep.
If you don't measure, you don't know.
Very nice.
So, channel performance. So our channels. Now, we could have lots of different channels. So we often call it multi-channel or omni-channel, many different channels. So one channel Amazon could be a channel, right? It could be our website is a channel. It could be grocery stores. If we're looking at candy, I've got a convenience store channel, I've got a grocery store channel, I got drugstore channel, and I got candy channels. So why are those different channels? Because they sell different products to different kinds of people at different kinds of times. So how successful is each one of those channels? So one time when I was at CenturyLink, we had this outbound channel. Okay, so we telemarketed you. We call you on your phone to try to sell you something. And it's amazing, if we got you on the phone, the close rate was 80%. So if they got you on the phone during dinner, you would buy from them. We had another channel, that's our outbound. We had an inbound channel. So our inbound channel was in Louisiana. So this is, we sent you a piece of literature in the mail, a direct mail. You got it and you called us and said, I would like to buy your internet service. Our close rate was 20%. Something wrong with that? You don't want my service and I get you to buy it. You want my service and you call my rep and my rep is so bad that you don't even buy when you wanted to buy. So my product manager pulled everybody off the phone in Louisiana, trained them for an entire month on how to sell. Close rate went up to 40%. Well, that was better, not good enough. I mean, these people want to buy from you. So what he did is he pulled 25% of the people off the phones every week and trained them better and better and better. Got it up. When I left CenturyLink, it was up to 60%, but his goal was 80%. Right? But he never would have known that they were such lousy salespeople and such nasty people on the phone unless he had measured the performance of the channel. And how about a campaign? So we send out 250,000 pieces of literature. How many people buy? How much extra revenue do we do? How effective was this postcard versus this postcard? So we would measure each single piece that we turned out and how effective each single one of them was to find out which was the best and what were the things that we did right. One time we perfected it so well, we sent out a piece of literature and had 17% of the people who got the literature accepted the offer. It's amazing. So what we did is we took the people who took the offer, we sent the same piece out again, had another 13%. Sweet, right? Segments. I think you were supposed to be campaign for it. Right?
Keep going.
Oh, all right. So segments. I'm at Bell South and I look at my customers. I just get the list of customers and how much revenue they're spending with. And I found this one segment, federal government. And down in Georgia, every single ag office in the state of Georgia had a T1 frame relay from it, right? Which was about $2,000 a month. Every county has an ag office to help the farmers. And every single county had one of these, but only in the state of Georgia. So I got on the phone with my vice president and said, you know, it'd be great if we could get all the other states to have a salesperson go to the ag office to find out how the guy in Georgia did it, and for that person to tell everybody else how to do it. My VP said, hold on a second. He called all the VPs of all the different regions, got them on the phone, told them that. They found the person who did the good work in Georgia, set up a call. Everybody listened to this person. And 3 months later, every single ag office in our entire area had one, and it was worth $3 million a year. Because I looked at what is our government sector, right? I looked at the list of the customers and how they were doing.
All right, customer satisfaction, we talked about that, but again, really important. It reminded me of a Cracker Barrel visit I had earlier this year. My wife and I were having dinner and the waitress completely just disappeared, right? For about 30 minutes, didn't see her. She hadn't taken her order or anything. But she came over, greeted our table, got our drinks, but she never brought the drinks. And she came back and we were like, where'd you go? You know? And she said, well, I was talking to my husband. We're like, all right, well, cool. I'm sure it was important. Can we have drinks, right? And she proceeded this really bad service throughout the whole meal. So we gave her, the manager, I just happen to know the manager guy at Cracker Barrel, we used to work together at the bank. And I said, Brad, we just got it. You know, maybe we should get rid of her, like, she's terrible. And, and so we talked about it, he gave me a coupon to come back in, I came back in.
Be careful when you take the test.
We came back in and it was young girl, this is like her first day at Cracker Barrel, and she gave me the best service I have ever had at a restaurant. She was amazing. And so I went to the checkout and they said, how was your experience? And I said, it was great. I named her by name. I said, she was fantastic. And the lady picked up the phone and called back to the manager or somebody. And she said, we just got a good report on Alyssa or whatever her name was. And so we can measure customer satisfaction from surveys, right? Like Gallup we talked about, or just the frontline people that we have from our sales staff, our checkout staff. And there's another way that we can measure customer satisfaction. And what would that be? Something you do probably regularly. You don't think about it. Online. Reviews, yeah, reviews, user generated content, right? So we're giving reviews all the time, even if it's just 5 stars without typing in anything. So we can capture that information. And now with the digital world, it's really easy to capture reviews and content, right? I like this product, I have a good relationship with this person, whatever. And so we capture it that way.
But it's dangerous unless we're measuring it.
Yes, and that's
Yeah, don't write down market share, Joe. Just write down market share, because I was supposed to do this one and I forgot to take my name off it. So do not write on the test market share, Joe. It's just that.
No, you totally should. I'll give you bonus.
All right, so market share is how much or what percentage of total sales in the industry are you getting? So if it were a pie, we had a, let's say, I brought a pie in to the office, right? And then I cut it in pieces, right? So what I would do is I probably, because I'm fat and I'm trying to be on a diet, I'd take this little piece over here, and Professor Whitaker would take this piece right here, right? Which says he's got a bigger share of the pie.
I'm good with that.
So market share is what percentage of total industry sales do you have? And a lot of companies, they focus everything they do on how much share they have. So GE used to say, if we're not number 1 in market share, number 2 in market share in the country, we're getting rid of that product. We give the product manager 6 months to fix it and become number 1 or number 2, or we are either going to kill the product or we're going to sell the division off to somebody else because they ran a market share.
Good. And then we talked about cannibalism. So just know that term again, that you're substituting one product for another, or you're undercutting yourself.
Accidents can happen anytime. That's why Geico's here 24 hours a day, every day.
Gotta have goals. So when we do measurements, we're gonna do them quarter by quarter, year by year, month by month, but we're looking for, are there any trends? Are there any patterns? I think last class I told you about going to James and Mark when they came to me and said sales in May were lousy. And I said, well, what have they been like last year? And they looked at the last 5 years to find trends. Are there business cycles? Are there times of the year where you don't sell well and times of the year where you do sell well? One time, my product manager for long distance, Lane, came to me, and Lane had ADD. So Lane comes into my office and says, Joe. Yes, Lane. Joe. Yes, Lane, what is it? Joe. There are only 28 days in February. Actually, I knew that, Lane. No. There are only 15 business days. said, actually, I knew that too late. Don't. When I report results on February, they are always bad. And the reason they're bad is we have 2 less selling days. Every March when we have meetings, I get yelled at because sales are bad in February. I work 90 hours a week in March because we had to catch up with the sales in February. So Lane comes up with this little factor. How many days in a month versus how much revenue we came up with. So he standardized. So he showed how much daily revenue we got. And he didn't have to worry anymore, work like a dog in March because sales were actually okay. Right? One time I'm in a meeting with my vice president and I'm talking about how, here are our big segments. And our market research people were in there and said, how do you know that? And I said, well, I looked at the customers. They're like, oh, maybe we ought to do that. I think, well, yeah, you're in market research. We should.
All right, so the goal of measurement is to know your business. We talked about know your customer and product, and so now we're going to know your business. That's point number 3.
Know your business. So after we do these measurements, we have what we call a monthly review, a monthly summary of business. So it's also called the dashboard. And if you think of a dashboard in your car, right, when you're driving down the road, your focus is ahead. What's coming up, right? But every once in a while, you glance in the rearview mirror in case there's some blue lights behind you, right? But every once in a while, you glance down at the dashboard. So I'm driving today, right, with my knee, of course, because I'm drinking my coffee and texting, and I look down and it says 101, and I think, I really should slow down. This is a school zone. So the dashboard is really helpful. That little red light comes up with the oil can, and you think, I might need to look at that in a couple days. Well, no, actually, what that means, you got 15 seconds to turn that car off, or your car's going to burn up. My son calls me once. He says, Dad, it was 11 o'clock at night. Dad, I'm coming. I'm almost home. Wanted to let you know the red light came up for temperature. I said, pull the car over. He said, no, I'm 5 minutes away. Pull the car over. No, really, I'm 5 minutes away. You pull that car over, you're not going to get home. Right? It's overheating. It's going to blow the block. Right? So he pulls over and I take some water out there. We put it in the radiator and we get him home. But the dashboard is very helpful. So in the business world, we also create dashboards or the month. Make sure you get this, the monthly summary of business. How often should we measure? It's called the monthly summary of business. It's amazing how many people put year over year, quarter over quarter, month over month. No. It's called the monthly summary of business. Make sure you get that. We get a lot of people who miss that on the text. All right, so here, for example, is our dial-up monthly summary business. So we start up here with the dashboard, right? So I get red, yellow, green. I can see what's going on. Now revenues, good, right? Love revenues to be good. I always told Karen, when people have stuff like the green revenues, pat them on the back, tell them what a good job they're doing. Karen never did that. She liked the red ones. She was kicking in the butter, not a pat them on the back. But I encourage you to tell people the green ones too. So interesting here, notice revenues up 2%. So I ask you, it's on the chart, so you can find it. How can revenue be up 2% if our net adds are down? If we have less customers at the end of the period than we're supposed to, how can we have more revenue? Who can find it?
Isn't it based on quantity sold?
Not quantity sold, because we have less units sold. So we got less units sold, more revenue.
Customer spending, I guess.
Close, it's on the chart. More revenue, less customers. What's revenue? What's revenue, Gabe? Okay, so price times quantity, so quantity's down, but revenues are up. Notice this, remember James got rid of all those small little plans, discount plans. So ARPU, average revenue per unit, went from $17.96 to $18.86, up 90 cents a unit. So 90 cents a unit times total number of units, we got more revenue. Now, so we have a dashboard that talks about this. So we have a bunch of pages in here. So you notice here, it's what's going on, what's the trend? Let's diagnose what's going on, because we need to be diagnosis oriented. And then what are we going to do about it? So here, let's have a churn. So you notice my churn, our goal is 3.75 and it's 450. So what are we going to do? Well, why is it that way? Okay. And what are we going to do about it? So we're going to have a retention plan. We've got a save desk when somebody calls to cancel the service. We transfer them to somebody special who can give them tech. We've got this new self-help technician reinstalls your, remember I told you about that, it reinstalls your settings, and this My Information Manager, which saves your password. We've got those initiatives going on to try to fix our churn. Guys, have a great day. Study hard for Friday. Remember to get the sheets in the back. Look at the sheet and watch the video. It's on my insurance.
Spirit Week, College event, Spirit Week.
Oh,
Today was, and tomorrow y'all finish the best like professors. We're not the best like teachers.
Really? Oh, that's borrowed.
Anyway.
That's a good one.
Let me make sure.
Probably the same time.
So, this
guy.
Beans or anything.
No, that only what's on the study guide. Now, there are some general, you know, I mean, don't forget everything you learned. Yeah.
That's kind of.
Hey.
Kind of guys say.
No, but there are questions.
So we don't, like, we know what it is, but we don't know.
Yeah, application request. So there'll be some application request. So you're the product manager. And you wanted to test. I did. Thanks to that. I can go back. So it's really how to apply. Should I use ARPU or should I use GA?
But,
But it's always that.
yeah, it's just like.
Well, if there's math, we'll have got to. Sure.
Thank you.
See you, buddy.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Be worth it.
Pretty cool. I like it. It was a fun project.
Can I get you to give it, do me a favor? Yeah. Take our picture. 50 minutes.
Hold on. We pull this back up.
Stand in front of this.
Thanks.
Have fun.
So I can't remember, but I think there are some questions where they do that. That is tracked by the. So I'll check the thing, and if so, I'll ask Terry. If, because university has. The college stuff. So Terry's not using. Looking for us.
This stuff.
I'll put them on your off. I don't think there are, but there might be.
I woke up this morning and realized I was not planning on being here. Remember, that's my thing we had talked about. I was just gonna go.
Which
early.
Wednesday?
This Wednesday.
Okay,
Is that okay?
sure.
Because that's my presentation.
Yeah, that's fine.
Are you sure? We had talked about pricing and divided up the lesson.
I'll take it off. This is fine. That's a real big.
But if I need to teach, I will.
No, you
Okay.
get ready.
I was gonna go over there early. and just settle
Go over to Garter West.
it.
No, I think we'll make you teach class.
It'll
And then you will.
be right. About 30 minutes. All right, we're good with that.
No, I better turn off the video. They just listen to that.